Hello dear friends, Lorenzo from the LP channel here, and today we are going to learn a few tricks that will help us remember new words. As usual, subtitles on, keep a dictionary at hand and be ready to stop and rewind the video every time you need it. Let's go. Point 1. Learn words live and in context. Let me start with a little example which I remember so well. This was 1987 and the word cash wasn't yet one of those English words that Italians now use all the time. Cash was not used in colloquial Italian. Period. It was not used. Well, I was in Harrods, London, and I was buying a book. I walked to the cash counter with a book in one hand and a £10 note in the other. The cashier rang it up, informed me about the total amount. That was £9.90, but I knew this already. Then he looked up and went, "How would you like to pay?" Panic. No idea about the word. But why even speak? I'm here in front of you, holding the note. But, it would have been rude not to answer. And so I babbled, contents. Who knows what that guy thought? He certainly looked quite surprised. Anyway, he took the money. He gave me my change. He wished me a good afternoon. I thanked him. I turned around. I went around the corner. I fished out my pocket dictionary and looked up contanti, cash. And it made perfect sense. Cash, the money that is in the cash register. And then I was branded forever into my circuits. Different language, similar example. Only this time I was super sure that the word was correct. Now this was in Barcelona, Spain, late December, and it was raining. I needed a pocket umbrella. So I went to a department store, El Corte Inglés, Plaza de Catalunya, and I started looking for one in the luggage department where they usually are. I couldn't find any umbrellas. So I asked a lady at a counter using my approximate Spanish. As I had been able to rent a beach umbrella the previous summer in Fuerteventura, I thought the words sombrilla pequeña would work perfectly. But the lady laughed out loud and said, "Una sombrilla, a la playa, niño." Then she took me by the hand, led me to the right place, and said, "Aquí encuentras todos los paraguas que quieres." Sorry for my Spanish. She didn't correct me. She used the right word in context. She had me pay attention and made it so lovely and memorable. Thanks very much, Spanish lady. So, to recap, pay attention, keep a positive attitude throughout your experience, and try to transform the embarrassment into a nice little anecdote. Point 2. Use people as guinea pigs and try out the new word, even if it is totally out of context and they might not understand what you're saying. Another anecdote. One day I was rereading an Agatha Christie. Having read it before, I was very surprised to encounter a word that I didn't know at all. And that word stunted me because it was placed in such a way that not knowing it made the whole sentence really mysterious. And the word was gist, G-I-S-T. I immediately put down the book and picked up the dictionary. So, the gist of something is a short, general description of it. A summary, basically. Well, that day I was rather shocked at finding a word that I didn't know, especially in a book that I had already read. Which means I was also shocked at not remembering being stunted the first time that I had read the book. So, at that point, I decided to activate the word. The next day, I had the first lesson of a beginner's course, and I wanted to give the students a little initial shock by speaking quick English for 1 minute and then asking them how much they had understood. That was the perfect occasion to slip in my new word. So I prepared a sentence that went more or less like this. Welcome to this course. Don't expect the usual grammar-based practice, because that's not the approach I like. It is going to be a very entertaining course, so let me just give you the gist of it. So I basically spent 2 days looking forward to the moment when I would use the new word for the first time. And that definitely made me learn it. And ironically, just a few days later, I encountered the word again. That was both enjoyable and irritating. Enjoyable because my effort had paid off immediately. And I was just like, hey, great, now I know it. But later on, it became quite irritating because now I remembered the anecdote and the coincidence very well, but the word never popped out again. So much effort to learn a word that basically never occurs. By the way, that is also the reason why I didn't know it in the first place. Now, the next time I heard the word gist was while watching the movie Django Unchained some 15 years after this episode. If you're curious, look it up yourselves. Point 3, really a variation of point 2. Obsess about things, but try to find a rational way to incorporate the new word into your vocabulary. One day I was going to one of my courses and I was mentally preparing the lesson. So I was pretty focused. Driving around the building, I noticed that one of my neighbors was outside on her balcony painting something. And as I saw the triangular structure holding the canvas, I just went, now, what's that in English? I was 100% sure that I knew the word. But I got to school just in time for the lesson and there was no dictionary available. And then it was a long afternoon. Well, anyway, I couldn't get that object out of my mind. Well, needless to say, the first thing that I did as I got home was to look up the word in the dictionary. Easel. E-A-S-E-L. This was not a new word. I recognized it immediately. I just needed to reactivate it. It was just part of my passive English. Now, I needed a way to use the word, but this time I wanted to use it in a more functional way, not just as a random word that helped to make my sentence even more obscure. After thinking about it for some time, I decided to add it to an exercise about wrong translations, those horrors that come from a superficial use of the dictionary and maybe from a superficial knowledge about one's mother tongue. Now, as easel translates into the Italian cavalletto, which is literally a little horse, I gave the students an exercise in which they had to read one such awful translation, put it in context with the surrounding sentence, identify the specific meaning of the word, and look up this specific meaning to correct the sentence. Very elaborate thinking, I know, but it has definitely worked. Easel has become one of my 3 all-time exemplary words. Let's review the 3 different cases. Cash. Totally new word, but I would have understood it very easily because it is similar to the related word in Italian, that is cassa, a very common word, broadly used in many contexts. Easy to learn, but my point was how real use in a real context makes you memorize a word instantly. Gist. That was a word that I didn't know, and I wouldn't have understood it without a dictionary. Not so frequent, but not so sophisticated either, and it can be used in lots of situations. Easel is a word that I did know, and I would probably have recognized it in context. Not frequent, and extremely precise in meaning. We're here in the realm of sectorial language. 3 different categories, and not all methods would work as well. So, which tricks should you adopt in order to learn new words? Well, I would say a little bit of them all. So read a lot, both generic and specific material, check the dictionary, force the words into your active communication, and make sure you use Google creatively, as it is an incredibly powerful tool that can expose you to anything in 1,000 possible ways, one of which will certainly make you memorize the words you need. So that's it for today. Try to learn at least 1 word a day because the process is both fun and addictive. And in a very short time, your vocabulary will just explode. Remember that the channel has more videos for you to watch, and if you want to really activate and consolidate your English, just write me at info@lorenzopoletti.com. I'm available for one-to-one or group lessons, either in my study or at your place, and for online lessons via Skype. I can also help you improve your presentation skills or assist you as an interpreter. I also do translations, text revision, and proofreading. Thank you for watching, and keep learning.